Okay, so we're going to be making this beautiful checks piece, which is super easy, and I'm going to show you just how. Okay, first what you have to do is, of course, you have to make a plus or a cross. I prefer to call it a cross because it just gives me a better idea of the spacings. So you make a cross first like this, and right next to the first line you make another line. You make it as close as possible. If you can make it closer than this, please go ahead. Also, with equal distance on the left and the right, you have to make lines. Now you have to make the lines as close as possible, but between the three lines as shown above, as shown here, you have to make them spaced out equally, yeah, and the same thing you do horizontally as well. So this is very, very, very easy, but you have to make sure that the two lines that you're making together have to be really close together, and the lines that you're not making together, which is the whole grid, that has to be really spaced out, otherwise it just looks very mushy. Now we're going to be adding this curve on each line of the grid, up, down, left, right, and we're going to have to make this dark, of course, because we want it to be seen properly. So later on we can manage our flowers. All the grids have to be filled out with these curves. It's really very, very, very easy. All you have to do is make curves on each of the sides. Each of the sides. So you're gonna have to do this with all of the grids. Make sure that your curves are pretty thick, so you don't have to come back to it. And when you look at the big picture, it really looks like highlighted amongst the double lines. You can make it triple lines as well if you want, but try to make them really close to each other, or you can just make a single line as well if you want, otherwise you can go along with this. And this is one of the easiest methods of making a flower. Now, as in when you're making, it won't exactly look like an ideal flower checks thing, but by the end of it, I promise it will. So just go along with it and try to make it just the way that I'm making right here. Now, yeah, right, we have two more here, and the last one. Okay, now all we have to do is we have to color the weird square looking thing that we made, but just make sure that you have the flower thing intact. See, now I'm just trying to make the flower, like, see, I have the flower right here, and I'm just coloring the boxes on the side of the flower. So you see, the one up, down, left and right is one big flower, and I'm just trying to give it a better shape to the flower, so it looks good, basically. So we're going to be doing this with all of the flowers that we have. We have to make sure that it has the correct shape, otherwise by the end of it, it's going to look really, really bad. So you have to maintain the shape of the flower and as well as color it completely, because on the paper it doesn't look all that good, but when you do it on the hand, on any part of the hand or the back or wherever, when you don't color it enough, you can really see the dots in it. So you have to make sure that you color the whole thing properly, without leaving any dots, yeah. And you have to make it as dark as possible, because eventually the only thing that will be seen is the space. So you have to make sure the space is the empty space, without any rough work, whereas the dark area is like really dark, so the flower stands out. Now, as I said before, you can do this with 3 lines, even 4 lines, but then you'll have like a different shape of a flower, then you'll have a really thick one, which if you like it, then please go ahead with it. If you don't, then just forget about it. You can do this with a single line as well, which makes it very, very, very easier than the double line, and you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, but I would prefer, if you start with a smaller one, like just maybe 4 grids, so you don't have to hurry with the whole thing, and so you don't mess it up. So anything we do in henna, basically we have to start with something small and then we go on to make it big. Now once we're done with all of these flowers, just make sure they all look good first, all the flowers are maintained, the shape is good, and then we sort of make a border to it. Now if you want, you can make a double lined border like we did, with the checks. You can make double lines, or you can make single lines, whatever is fine with you. Or you can even make like one line, and then you can add a thick line and then a thin line again, just to give it a very, very specific border, yeah, or whatever suits you. So once we're done with this border, we want to make some design on the outline. So I'm basically just adding some leaves and vines to it. In our country we call that harakas. So I'm just going to add some really like small harakas, because if I make them big, then my checks will not look good. They won't look like the main thing in my design. So I want to keep them small but also keep them decorative, so it looks like a nice clean border. So I'm just going to keep adding these curvy lines, which is honestly very easy. You can add flowers also, add dots also, add nothing also, or you can just add like 3 dots or 4 dots, or make like this 5 dotted flower, which is super easy. Whatever suits you and whatever you think looks good. So I'm just going to be doing this with the whole checks thing, and you can make this either on the back or on your leg or on your hand, on the palm. Make it a little smaller, because otherwise the palm looks really too much. Or you can make it anywhere you want. Basically it looks pretty neat once the color comes, because the dark part will be like really dark and the spaces will be seen. So basically we're playing with the spaces, which is also called as the inverted spacing design or the negative spacing design. What you do is you make a design with the space. You don't make a design with henna like I'm doing now. So basically it's one of the inverted spacing design. Or you can just copy what I'm doing right here and then complete it with me. So I would really appreciate if you make it, send it to me so I can see how it turned out, and I hope it turns out well because of all the instructions and stuff. And if you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe, and so I can keep these henna vlogs coming. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.